even dry. But don't bother with that. Stay focused on the sweet, typical port wine. So many countries produce port wine, such as Argentina, Canada, France. However, none of these are allowed to encrypt the word port on the bottle. So if you see the word port or porto, it's an indication that the wine is produced in Portugal, in the Douro Valley, 100%. So what makes this wine so different than the rest of our usual typical wines? Your dry wine, red dry wine, would have an alcoholic volume between 12 and 14% alcohol. Porto wine, on the other hand, has an alcoholic volume between 19 and 20%, so it's much higher. The reason for this is because in the fermentation process, in the winemaking, we have a slight modification, and I'll explain. So when making wine, we follow 5 stages. We have the harvesting, the collection of the grapes. We have pressing and crushing of the grapes. We have the fermentation, stage 3, and here is where the Porto wine alternates a little bit. Then we have the clarification, and then we have the aging and bottling of the wine. So in stage 3, where the sugar turns into alcohol, what the Portuguese have done is that they have added some brandy inside the wine, mix it up, stopping the fermentation. So they've stopped the sugar to be turned into alcohol, and this is why port wine is so sweet. And the reason for this is actually it's historically back in the 1700s, I think, yeah, when England was at war with France, they had to find wine from other countries, because the main provider was France, obviously. So they were at war and they had to turn otherwhere to find wine. So they found the Portuguese. Porto wine, even though it was good quality, had some issues with the transportation. So it would ruin from the journey from Portugal back to England. As soon as it arrived to England, it was too late for the wine. So they had to come up with a solution to solve this problem. Here comes the fermentation process, where they add the brandy in order to allow it maximize actually its endurance. So let's go ahead and look at today's bottle. It's from the producer Fonseca, established in 1815. This is your bottle, your typical port bottle. You can see the neck of the bottle, the structure. It resembles other drinks like whiskey or bourbon. It's a Tawny Port. I'll explain in a minute what this means. So let's go ahead, open it up, give it a taste. Let's see what we have for today's wine. You can see how it's designed. You just give it a twist and open it. This is your cork. Okay. So it's a Tawny Port. We have many so many different styles of port, but I want you to keep in mind of 3 categories. Vintage port, which is a port that's been aged a long time. So you can see on the bottle, on the port bottle, 10 or 20, the number 20 or 40 years. It means it's been aged so long. This is a ruby. This is a Tawny Port. So the two primarily differences between Tawny and Ruby is that Ruby Port is very young, whereas Tawny Port has a little bit of an aging character to it. Yeah, this is not your typical Ruby, obviously, because it's not. Doesn't seem like a young purple wine. You can see it's a bit brownish. I don't know if you can detect it from here. Extremely, amazingly scent. I wish you could smell this. A little bit of caramel, nutty senses. A little bit of cinnamon, of smoke, of leather, earthy aromas. I believe up to now, from the wines that we've reviewed, this has the best smell from all the wine we've checked out up to now. Okay, let's give it a taste. So it's actually like mixing brandy with wine. If you take a sip of this, you're gonna get confused if you don't know about port, because you're gonna say that it's not wine. It's strong, it's heavy. One more. Very interesting. It's round, it's balanced, it's very robust, it's smooth, it's not so much, hasn't got high tannins, it's smooth. I also get, apart from the earthy aromas from smoke, leather, a little bit of tar as well, I also get some fruit. So I haven't had port in a long time. I don't actually remember when was the last time I tried out port wine. It's kind of a different drink. It doesn't follow your typical rules for wine. It's much heavier, as we've mentioned, but it's very enjoyable nonetheless. I highly recommend you try it out. Now for pairing, what goes extremely well, heavy cheeses such as Stilton cheese. It's an English cheese that's also produced in Ireland, I think. Chocolate cake, but be careful, you don't want your cake to actually be sweeter than the wine. What else goes extremely well are cigars. So if you happen to be a cigar smoker, you can pair it out. You can pair it with a glass of port. It's the perfect combination, I promise you. So that's what I'm gonna do actually now. I'm not gonna light this in here. I'm gonna go out. To finish the video off, let's pair the wine. I'm gonna give it, it's round, it's balanced. Fonseca is an exceptionally good producer. Not so many producers in port wine. Fonseca is very well known, so is Taylor. Let's give it 82 points. It's a budgeted wine. Let's give it 82 points. And as the Portuguese say, saúde.